Hello, everyone. Welcome to ManageEngine Applications Manager pre-training series. This will be the agenda for today. So the agenda is split into 4 different topics where primarily we will be discussing about gaining visibility into the infrastructure components with the use of application discovery and dependency mapping. Up next, we will be seeing the key performance metrics of both your physical as well as virtual server environments, followed by looking at how Applications Manager helps you with leveraging smart alerts, that is, with the help of the AI-based options. Finally, we will be seeing machine learning enabled analytics that will help the users analyze trends across their compute resources. Now, the first topic is gain visibility into your infrastructure components via application discovery and dependency mapping. So before we get into the discovery details, let me quickly tell you what exactly the discovery option is and how exactly the monitoring can be made. So in an ideal IT infrastructure, monitoring is quite essential where the target resources have to be monitored 24/7. Now, monitoring is one aspect. Now, adding the resources for monitoring is the primary goal, which is a little tedious process if that is done manually. But over here, what we will be seeing is the discovery option, which lets the users discover multiple resources with the help of a simple discovery option where IP address has to be specified and the respective credentials are provided to validate the resources, followed by providing or enabling certain ports. Now, once this is done, the next step is having the discovery progress where we have a couple of screenshots in the slide that exclusively tells the users how the discovery is being taking place, which is in the first screenshot. And in the second screenshot, this will give the users an idea of how a successful discovery is done. Now that the applications are discovered, the next thing is to ensure that there is a dependency map that is created, which will give the users an overview of how their applications are functioning. So over here, let me tell you the brief pros of using the dependency mapping. So the benefits are that it gives the users a holistic view of all the discovered applications with a single mapping that lists out all the devices that are connected to applications, which is server to server mapping is done. The application status is also listed out, which displays if a specific application is up and running or if it is in a down state. And if it is in a down state, the root cause analysis will also be displayed right on the dependency map. So to give a clear picture as to how the dependency map looks, this is what we have. Now over here, as we can see, we have a couple of servers, databases, and applications. Now the benefits of this dependency map is it gives a clear visibility of the various applications that are connected with each other. And the overview of the application can also be displayed where we have a JDK application that is in an unknown state, which helps the users identify that one of their business critical applications is not functioning well. Now let us go to the UI and see how exactly a discovery is done and what exactly dependency map looks like. So this is the Applications Manager UI. Right now, let me just log in. So this is the overview of what Applications Manager is capable of, which gives a holistic view of all the applications. And beyond this, Applications Manager has a wide spread of monitoring, ranging from physical servers to virtualized environments, application servers, databases, real-time monitoring, of which some of these components is what we will be discussing in the next few weeks. But today, let us focus on the topics, which is the physical server as well as virtual server monitoring. And now the first topic, which is application discovery and dependency mapping. Let me quickly go to the admin tab, which is over here, where we will be seeing how to discover the resources. So there's an option here under discovery and data collection. Now, before we proceed further to the discovery, let me also give you the other two options where you can add monitors. So number one is adding the resources individually by choosing the respective application type or server type or database type. Number two, we have a bulk import where users can import the custom CSV files with the respective information that is filled, which will validate and then add the resources. Last but not the least, we have the discovery process where the user has to define or add new. So let me quickly edit one of these options that I have created well in advance. So this is one of the groups that I have renamed it as webinar, where as you can see, this discovery option lets the users identify resources from multiple subnets as I did over here, providing two different IP ranges, which is 10.0.1.1 to 1.10. Subsequently, I have chosen 198.168.1.1 to 1.10. So altogether, there are 20 different IP ranges. Now, as a system admin, I would be quite sure of the various resources which are available, which will make it easy for the users or for the system administrator to add the resources beforehand. Now, when I say resources, I refer to the credentials where the users can choose to add the credential by choosing the respective monitor type. Now, in this case, I may choose a WMI, which is to add a Windows monitor, or maybe I can choose an Oracle database. So it depends on the user's requirement. And once the credentials are added, which are provided over here, there are certain credentials like an SNMP, a Windows server, a SQL database, and an Oracle database. The next thing is configuring ports. Now, it could be that there might be multiple other resources running within the given IP range. Now, in order to ensure that additional resources like a WebSphere server or maybe a WebLogic server that is not needed for monitoring could be discovered. So in order to ensure that these resources are not discovered, ports can be switched on or switched off, which is enable or disable. Now let me just enable the SNMP and try disabling a couple of other ports. So over here, this discovery option lets the users have their resources added for a multiple or plethora of options that Applications Manager offers, like where we have split up as servers, applications, and further below, we have the databases as well. Now, the next thing is discover, discover, and add. So this discover option is more like a customizable option where the users can choose to remove resources which might not be needed, or the users can even choose to click on discover and add. So let me quickly show you the discover option, which will take some time because of the number of devices that it has to scan and validate the credentials. Now that it has 20 different IPs to check, let me quickly cancel this discovery to show you how exactly it looks like in real time. So whenever the discovery is done, a successful discovery is done, it forms a monitor group or a business view. So this is the business view that I was referring to initially with the help of a dependency map. So this is how it will help you identify overlying issues across your resources. So over here, we have an HP UX server that is absolutely perfect. On the other hand, we have a SQL database that has underlying issues where multiple databases are in a disconnected state. Let me just try to minimize this. There we go. This is how you can identify the issues that are available on these respective resources. Now, moving back to the presentation. Now, let us go ahead and discuss the other topics, which is track key metrics in your virtual and physical server environments. The monitoring of server components is quite essential because a system admin might not be able to walk to each and individual physical server or take an RDP to the respective VMs or Citrix farms or any other virtualized environments to monitor which one of these servers is having an issue. Now, this will be a high level of monitoring solutions where Applications Manager offers various options in terms of keeping track of multiple metrics like monitoring the CPU utilization, memory, or disk utilization. And on the other hand, we also have the options to monitor the network tabs, which is the network traffic, the process, as well as service details, event logs, and hardware related details. Now, there could be reasons where most of the times either the CPU or the memory utilization might spike a lot. So in order to see where exactly these issues are occurring, it is quite essential for these metrics to be monitored and get notified. Now, in addition to this, monitoring of the hardware infrastructure is also an essential attribute because it will help the users identify where the issues are. So let us look at the hardware aspects in just a while. But before that, let me quickly show you some information about where users can customize values, which is thresholds, to get notified on one of their severe business metrics like CPU or memory or disk utilization, or maybe a specific service that is in a down state. So all these options are available from the respective monitor page. Now, the other important aspect is monitoring the hardware issues. Now, while monitoring a virtualized environment, users tend to miss out on inspecting the hardware resources, which could have an impact on the temperature, or there could be unregulated power supply, or there could be differences in the temperatures, or there could be differences in the power supply across various resources on the hardware issues, or there could be even a failure on the CPU fan. Now, in order to mitigate this, Applications Manager Server Monitoring offers the users where the users can monitor various metrics like the temperature, power supply, the hardware status, which is the physical drive, the overall chassis, the voltage, and many other things. Now, let us quickly go to the UI and have a quick look at one of the existing server monitors as well as VMs. Now, speaking about server monitor, let me quickly choose a specific Windows server. Now, on this Windows server, we have multiple things that are available for monitoring. Like what we see over here is a server snapshot that gives the users complete information about CPU, memory, disk utilization. And further below, it also helps the users to see the split up of memory utilization, identify the number of services or processes that are currently being monitored. So this also gives the users the flexibility to add more services or more business critical processes by clicking on add new process. And at the same time, there are some automated actions which are available in the server monitor that helps the users to either start or stop a specific service, or maybe unmanage or remove a specific process. Now, speaking about automated actions, we have a couple of services which are in a shutdown state. So the user can check the respective service and click on either stop or start or restart to ensure that the important aspects of your servers or important applications are running continuously with very less downtime. Now, moving further, we also have information which is detailed information about the CPU utilization, where all the CPU cores are displayed with its utilization. And further down below, we have tabular statistics that display what exactly is the utilization across each and individual CPU core. So this being a 16-core CPU, we have information across all the 16 cores where the users can configure attributes across each and individual metrics that is available for monitoring in terms of the utilization, the idle time, the IO weights, and all these things. Now, similar to this, as we move further ahead, we have the disk tab that lists out all the individual disks. And in addition to this, the disk IO stats can also be monitored. So this is all about a physical server monitor. Now, moving on to the virtualized environments, Applications Manager offers these monitoring features when it comes to virtualized platforms, like monitoring the Dockers, its individual containers, Kubernetes virtual machines, Hyper-V, Citrix farms, VMwares, and its vCenter. So let me quickly show you an example of a vCenter which has discovered the various ESX along with the multiple VMs that it hosts. So this is the dashboard of a vCenter. Now over here, we have options to see a single ESX that is available over here, which has information that helps you monitor the CPU, the memory, the data store, and the network. So these are one of the few critical information that needs to be constantly monitored to ensure there is very minimal downtime. Now, coming back to the monitoring aspects of the virtual machines, we have other important metrics like discovering all the VMs to get to see an overview of what exactly the utilization is. And when I say utilization, I refer to the CPU as well as memory utilization that is available and it's powered on or off state. Let me choose one of the VMs over here to help you identify how exactly the monitoring is done. Now over here, unlike the physical server, the virtual server environment has its own monitoring metrics. So where we can see the CPU, the memory utilization, the disk, and the network usage on the overview. But as we proceed further, under the memory utilization, we have the options to filter out how exactly the memory is being utilized, which is the active and the passive memory, where it helps you identify in seeing what exactly the memory has been allocated to an individual VM and what is the total buffer memory, which is the balloon memory that is available over here to be displayed. So all this information is what we have in terms of identifying complete details about the VMs. Now, if the user has a specific requirement of monitoring the operating system of the respective VMs, Applications Manager's virtual monitoring offers you the flexibility where you can add the individual services or individual processes or event logs based on the operating system. Now, let me quickly go back to the presentation and discuss about the next topic, which is leveraging AI-assisted smart alerts. Now, all this while, we have seen how applications can be discovered, how they can be mapped, and how the monitoring can be placed. Now, the next thing is to get notified. Now, every time monitoring is being done, it is also essential to get notified every now and then there is a discrepancy. Now, how can this be done? So there are multiple options where the users can customize the threshold profiles, where users can provide their own customizable values that meets the need of the requirement of those respective applications. Now, this is a standard way of setting up thresholds and getting notified on the UI. The other thing is machine learning alerting system. So this is where Applications Manager helps the users to make use of machine learning, which will automatically identify the spikes, the trends, the utilization of all these monitored metrics. And that is when, if it sees an intermittent spike, an alert will be triggered onto the UI that lets the users know that there is some sort of discrepancy. Now, in addition to these two profiling options, we also have dynamic baseline options, which is with the help of the anomaly profile. So this anomaly profile lets the users detect the anomaly based on multiple options like baseline values or custom expressions. So baseline values is where the user has the option to compare the values as to how exactly the utilization trends have been with the past weeks. So if the user want to see or set a threshold limit, which is the upper limit or lower limit, the values can be compared with the last couple of weeks, maybe week 1 or week 2 of the last 1 month, or maybe the moving baseline values to see how exactly the trends are in comparison with today's date that is in record with the last week's date. Now, configuring alerts is one of the options. Now, receiving these alerts to your mobile or to your email or maybe to your incident system, which is your ticketing tool, is the next step, where users can be alerted on multiple grounds, which is to set or create an action and then receive notifications on various aspects. Now, we will go to the UI and see how exactly the alerts will be seen. But before that, let me also quickly tell you that whenever there is an incident that has occurred on Applications Manager, there is a complete history of the overall health and the availability history of all these alerts that have occurred on your resources. Now let us go to the UI and quickly see how exactly the threshold profiles can be created. For this, let me go to the admin tab, and under alarm and action, we have the options to create thresholds and anomalies. So the options over here is to create a new threshold profile, which is what we have seen initially. The standard option, which is the user can define a customizable threshold value and get notified on multiple grounds, which is on 3 different severity levels, which is critical being the topmost, followed by warning and clear. Now up next, we also have other options, which is the anomaly profile. So let me quickly go to the anomaly profile and create one. Now, in the presentation, we have had a screenshot of the fixed baseline values. Now let me show you how exactly the moving baseline values can be available. So this is where you can compare the values. Now, in addition to choosing this second option, there is also another thing, which is the comparison method. So this will give the user even more flexibility to highly determine what exactly is the value when in comparison with the week 1 or week 2 of a different month. So this anomaly profile, the baseline values is where the users can set multiple options and provide the respective upper limit as well as the lower limit to ensure that these alerts are not flooding in terms of constant spikes that can be seen across any monitoring infrastructure. Now, besides the baseline values, we also have custom expressions where the users can provide various attributes or the system variables as we have defined it that gives the user to generate a threshold whenever the expression has been met. So we have sample details of the system variables, which is for the last hour value that will precisely give the user as to what exactly the utilization right now. And the options to customize over here is critical and warning, if in case the threshold has been breached. If not, it stays in a clear state throughout. Now let us assume that we have created a threshold profile, which is where we have a few thresholds that are predefined or a threshold that was created well in advance. Now, once this is created, this has to be associated to the monitor. And let me show you how it is done along with the machine learning assist. Now, under the admin tab, we have an option called configure alarms, where the users have the option to differentiate between 3 different things like monitor, monitor group, or monitor type. Choosing the monitor will let the user create thresholds only to one specific monitor. Creating a monitor group is something that can be done for the business group, where monitors can be discovered with the help of the application discovery that was done initially right at the start. And lastly, we have a monitor type option where if there are multiple monitors of the same classification, for example, if I choose a Windows 2019 server, there could be 15 to 20 different servers of the same classification in an organization. Now, the easiest way to create thresholds and associate them to all these things is by choosing this particular option, the monitor type, which is a template. Now, we have seen standard threshold profile as well as anomaly profiling. Now, the next thing is to create a machine learning options, which is the alerting options. So let me choose CPU utilization over here, where there are 2 different options. It's either the threshold or the machine learning. Now, once this is done, once the machine learning is chosen, the next step is to configure actions at attribute level. Now, I was talking about receiving notifications or receiving incidents to multiple platforms like an email, SMS, or a ticketing tool. The users have the flexibility to create multiple options and set multiple recipients or create a work group so that these alerts are triggered to their respective recipients. Now, over here, we have options where I have created one well in advance that displays one for an email, the other one for an SMS. So this one is for the SMS, and we have a ticket action. So let me just choose the service as an example. So this is how you can have multiple automated actions that can be triggered for a single incident. Now, once this is done, the next step is to save. So let me also quickly show you how you can create actions. So this, going back to the admin tab, we have the actions option where all the available actions in Applications Manager are displayed. Now, actions are classified into two types. One is an automated action, and the other one is a corrective action. Under the automated actions, we have the emails, the SMS, as well as ticket actions. Under the corrective actions, we have a VM action or an execute program action where the users can create custom script files, which will execute to perform a specific operation. So this is one of the other things which are available. Now, besides this, we also have a VM action that is available, which means it helps the users automatically start a specific VM, not just a VM, a specific service as well. So further below, we have those respective options, which is start a specific service from a Windows server, or start a specific container, or maybe start a specific VM. So let me quickly choose a Windows service action to give you an example of how it exactly looks like. So the next thing is to choose the respective actions and pick the respective services and add the monitors that are available. So over here, we have one single Windows hardware. And what happens is once this action is created, this has to be associated to the respective server monitor or respective VMs. Now, once this is done, whenever the polling frequency takes place, Applications Manager automatically scans for the issues and it takes the next step to start your services or VMs without any manual intervention. Now, this being said, the next thing is to see how exactly your applications are functioning or what are the discrepancies that has occurred in the past few days, for which we have a dedicated alarms tab where users can easily figure out various options, which is identifying how exactly and when exactly or for how long there has been issues with one of the monitoring infrastructure. Now, if I have to pick one of these options over here, let me choose the Kubernetes virtual machine. Now, further below, we have the health as well as the availability history. Besides that, we also have a general root cause analysis message. To identify for how long this has been happening, the health history determines what exactly has happened. Now, speaking about health, it could be any one of the various factors that could be either a CPU, a disk, or a network adapter, or maybe services or processes. Anywhere, one of the threshold values that could be having a violation or that could have a breach in the set threshold values, or if the service is down or a process is down, all these are classified under the health of the monitor. Now, similarly, under the availability, this will display the exact root cause as to why this has happened. Now, as we can see, the root cause message states that the resource is not available because the respective VM is in a shutdown state. So this is how broadly information is available in terms of classifying where exactly the issue has occurred and how often this has been occurring. Now let us go back to the presentation and discuss about the next topic, which is analyzing trends with machine learning enabled analytics. Now, what exactly is the trends? These are the historical data or the data retention of the various compute resources that are monitored. And how exactly Applications Manager helps? There are multiple report options, and some of the few advanced report types are the capacity planning as well as the forecast reports, which will help the system administrators identify what exactly is the utilization and how the utilization trends are going to be. Let me quickly show you an example of what exactly the capacity planning reports are. So this is classified for multiple options like physical servers or virtualized environments where the oversized or undersized or idle servers or VMs can be classified or can be displayed, which helps the user identify if there is any shortage of resources that needs to be accommodated, or if there are any idle servers where the resources has to be maintained such that the overutilized server is freed of some memory or some resource that is moved to the idle server. Now, similarly, the next pain point is to make use of the existing compute resources and cost cutting, which is one of the efficient ways to make sure that the resources are optimized within the existing servers or VMs. So this forecast report helps the users predict what exactly the utilization trends are going to be over a series of various time intervals, which is 5 months, 6 months, or maybe 2 years down the lane. So this is how effectively reports in Applications Manager helps the users or the system administrators in particular to keep track of all their resources. Now, there are frequent questions as to the changes that are made on the product UI. So there could be multiple people managing the product. And if one of the users has accidentally made changes to the existing threshold profiles or maybe deleted some of the uh, thresholds or monitors, all these can be easily audited with the help of the audit log features where it is spread across 105 different options, which will help the admin of Applications Manager easily track various changes and depending on the various other options like the application or the time or which user has performed these operations. Now it's time for us to go to the UI to see what exactly and how exactly these reports are available. In Applications Manager, we have a dedicated reports tab where reports are available for more than 250 plus attributes that are available for monitoring. And reports are classified based on their types. Speaking about physical servers, they are available under servers. And for virtualized environments, we have a dedicated virtualization tab. And the ones that we are discussing right now is the capacity planning report. As we see, this is available for all physical as well as virtualized environments. And this is available for three different options like undersized, oversized, and idle servers. The system administrator can set rules for these options, which is, as of now, I chose oversized servers. Now, as we can see, most of the servers that are available for monitoring are being oversized. Now, this is where the capacity planning helps the users create rules by changing the settings over here and display what exactly or determine what exactly is an oversized server or an undersized server. Now, based on these rules, it will be easily helpful for the people that are managing Applications Manager to have a quick look at their resources, which is for these three different options. Now, similarly, we have one for the forecasting reports where the utilization of various options, various server types or applications can be easily monitored. Now, let me pick a report for the disk utilization of the servers for the forecast utilization. Now, this is a report where with the help of the machine learning, it identifies how exactly the trends have been, be it the last 15 days, 30 days, or 1 year. And the next thing is to choose a different time frame, which is 8 months down the lane in this case, that gives the users a complete insight as to when exactly it will be 100% full. Now that these reports are 100% occupied, which is the various disks that are available, let me also show you how exactly it looks when we want to further drill down. Like the granularity of the reports gives you the actual data and it predicts when exactly it reaches its maximum potential. So in this case, since this being 100% already being occupied, the forecast also says that there is a chance that it remains 100. And there is no way until something manually is being handled, the data will not go below 100%. So had there been a little changes, so the values pertaining to the report utilization will be displayed accurately. Speaking about the auditing feature, which is available under the admin tab, under tools, we have the audit logs. This audit log feature helps the users to see what exactly the changes have been in the past. Now, having a keen look at the auditing feature, we have a couple of things. Now, as we see, the respective discovery options has been cancelled today, or it has been edited, which is the first discovery option. The second is the cancel discovery. So these are the things that I have did right in the start with the help of the application discovery. And in addition to this, we have also created an alarm template for the Windows 2019 server, and it gives the exact information as to what exactly the changes are done, which is where in the highlighted portion. So this is how detailed the auditing feature in Applications Manager is, which is available for various other options, which is for 115 other entities. So this is all about the auditing feature. Now coming back to the UI, let me quickly give you a recap of what we have discussed so far. So right in the beginning, we have seen what Applications Manager is capable of in terms of its huge monitoring options, where we have discussed in detail about the discovery as well as the dependency options, followed by monitoring of physical as well as virtual infrastructure, where we have had a look at one of the key business metrics. Up next, we have discussed about the alerting options, which is the standard threshold profiles, the anomaly profiles, or the machine learning options. Lastly, we have also seen about the various reporting, which is to help the users keep track of the total utilization trends. And in addition to this, the same reports also offers the downtime as well. Finally, a quick thank you for all the participants who have joined this webinar. And hopefully we were able to help you out with the things that might be new to you. Thanks a lot. Stay tuned for our next webinar.